Thank you for joining us. I'm Paul Brown. We have with us Anderson City Manager Linda McConnell, and she's agreed to talk to us and share some stories now that she's announced she's retiring. What makes it unique with you as opposed to other city managers in most cities in South Carolina today is that you grew up here. You were born here. You went to school here, and you came back.
I did.
The early days in Anderson, when you look back on that period of your time, what are some of the fondest memories you have?
Well, certainly downtown at that point was the heartbeat of our city. It was still vibrant, even though it was beginning to see shades of outlying areas that were growing and a little bit of the exodus from downtown. But it was still kind of known as our living room. It was still where the central part of business activity and commerce originated. And there were all kinds of activities, all kinds of professions represented. It was what we knew as our heartbeat.
Living at home, did y'all lock the doors at night?
Oh, absolutely.
Could you ride your bicycle anywhere you wanted?
Well, I did, but you got to remember, I was not a city girl. I grew up in the country when Brown Road was rural, not even remotely urban. So our growth, the expansion of the city's boundaries and the growth of our population and the amount of people who just came into the city on a daily basis was vastly different then than now.
When you were at Hannah thinking about what you wanted to do and where you wanted to go to college, what were some of the choices that you and your parents discussed?
Well, I never really thought about going to college anywhere but the University of South Carolina. It was where my family had all gone. We were lifelong fans. In terms of what I really wanted to do, to study, English was my favorite subject. I was pretty good in all of it, but I didn't necessarily like all of the rest of that. And now what I would do with an English degree, I had no idea. So early on, I think some sort of legal career was really in my thoughts.
Because
it was in my family, yes,
in your
sure,
blood.
right.
Because for those that may not know, tell us who your dad and mom were and who your brother is.
My mom and dad were Mary and Calhoun Pruitt. Dad was a local attorney here for many, many years, serving in all types of law. He also served in public capacities too, so a little bit of public service was in there. They were big volunteers. Mom was a volunteer at the hospital. She was a pink lady, and of course she also had a career on her own, off and on, and both were in the military. My brother is a local practicing attorney. So legal circles, legal conversations were part of our dinner conversations.
You get to Carolina, now in English starts out. At some point, do you branch out and decide to take another avenue?
I did. I decided really that English just by itself wasn't quite a career choice. I wasn't destined to be a teacher, so journalism became the path for me, and I graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Journalism and a concentration in public relations.
You graduate, you're now looking for your first job. Where do you go and how many applications do you put out there?
Well, I think I had been home maybe for a week, and there was a job posted for the city of Anderson in the planning department. It was temporary. It was an intern position, and I think it was good for a whopping 30 days.
And this would have been what year?
77.
All right, so 1977, you come to work for the city temporarily. Mm-hmm. And who hires you and what department are you working in the planning, but who was in that office? Do you remember when you started?
I do. Amazingly enough, John Moore was here at the time in the personnel office, and Ron Bowie was the city planner. So he's actually the one who hired me.
And then he left, Ron Bowie left.
He left and went into the ministry, yeah.
You stay how long in the planning department?
Well, all total, I think I was there until the late 80s, early 90s.
You didn't have a problem with what you had been taught at South Carolina, putting that into practice on a job in Anderson with the planning department?
Not at all. It was amazing. I think part of the communications duties in some of those early job descriptions, the planning department has always been the one that got the special projects. So if it came to special events or special activities or helping spread the word about some new project, that sort of fell into this arena, which worked fine for me given the background. And I really liked doing it. So.
What happened after 30 days?
The city council passed a new budget and they put me in the budget.
Yeah, have you got any idea that long ago what that budget was?
Oh heavens no, I didn't even know what a budget at that point was, and I wasn't responsible for spending any money, I can assure you.
When you came to work, the mayor was who?
Darwin Wright.
And some members of that early city council?
Gertz Eaton,
Right.
Frances Kaysen, B. Thompson. In fact, she's the one who really I have served with the longest,
Yeah.
worked for and with the longest.
Is it not unusual that during your tenure, maybe it is, you've only worked for 3 mayors?
It's a little unusual. I think certainly in political arenas today, I think it's very unusual. That's one of the things I think we have the most to be proud for here is because we have the stability of elected officials who, number one, really care. Number two, they obviously are well received by our citizens due to their longevity.
The next mayor was?
Was Richard Shirley.
And then the current mayor
Terrence Robbins.
was elected in?
2006.
You've had a few more city managers, but not that many more.
No.
When you came to work, who was the city manager?
City manager was Richard Burnett. He was here just a short time, and then Richard Woodruff was hired as planning director, I believe, first, and then went on to become city manager.
And then John Moore took his place.
Yes.
So it's 3 and 3.
That's right.
Kind of unusual.
Yeah.
40 years ago, when you were in that planning department and subsequently, say, over the next decade, what were some of the main projects that you all undertook in downtown Anderson or in Anderson that we still are seeing the impact of that decision to do that way back then?
Two things I think really stand out. One, we were in the early 80s, we were very involved with land use planning. This was a time of great growth, subdivision development, new residential housing complexes, rezonings. It was a time of kind of unprecedented growth, but in a different way than today. So you had general land use and growth and annexation and kind of the citizen involvement that comes with that. But we embarked on downtown with a little bit of success, but we kind of dabbled in it when we had the time, and we quickly realized that if you really wanted to make an impact, you really had to work at it all the time, not just sporadically. So the energy and the development of a downtown development plan was critical. You know, if you don't make plans, you don't have a road map, you don't really know where you're going. So when the exodus from downtown started and buildings began to be abandoned or not maintained well, it really became a sign that the local government needed to be the catalyst that started downtown resurgence, and we did. That was essentially in '92 we began thinking that way. '96 we developed a plan. By 1998 we were digging up the streets. That's what started the whole thing.
And looking back, that's how many
Do
years?
the math. I mean,
It worked
Yes, it did. It
because
did.
people came back downtown.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of goodness to be said about kind of doing it slowly, having the benefit of watching other cities kind of go through a renaissance and how they did it. They did a lot of things well. They did some things that were good examples of what not to do, and we learned from that. So I think the key thing was asking people who were stakeholders, not just people who owned property or had businesses here, but people who worked down here, people who came here to conduct their business. What were they looking for in a downtown? And we still ask that today. Shock This Block is a great example of how public participation can help shape your future.
Before we go on, the three mayors, give me one word to describe each one of them.
Mayor Wright was a Southern gentleman. He was truly a product of that time. Richard Shirley was passionate, genuinely believed that public service was a calling, and that downtown was our living room. Terrence Roberts is strategic, and he's visionary, and he believes in hiring professionals to do the day-to-day business, and that council elected officials are policymakers, and that's what makes it all work.
For years, you worked side by side with John Moore, and when he retired, there was just this seamless, you just stepped in and we didn't miss a beat. A lot of cities don't do that. How important was it for the continuity of the city for the council to recognize that's a smart move and to give you the job, becoming the first woman in that position?
Well, number one, it was very rewarding for me personally. It also came along at a time when John had a distinguished career. He was ready to pass the torch. I'm glad that he felt confident enough that he could pass that torch to me, and City Council echoed that. I think from the institutional knowledge piece, I think that was important for us at the time, because we had a number of projects that were just kind of really getting the ball rolling, and I wasn't ready to retire then. So we made a great team. We played off of each other's strengths and weaknesses, and it worked very well.
Historically speaking, it can never be changed. You were the first woman to assume this position. Has that been a burden? Have you seen that as an encouragement to other girls coming up, that you can do anything you want to do?
Oh, well, I've always believed I could do anything I wanted to do. And if you worked hard enough and you found reasons to smile every day, then there was probably a way to find a new door that opened. I don't think a lot about being a woman in this job. I think more about the job and the people that I work with and the things we're able to accomplish. But yes, it's nice.
Sure it is, yeah.
It's nice.
Over your career, if you had to say, I think the city knocked it out of the park when they did what that you were involved with?
Built Carolina Wren Park.
Why?
I think public spaces are essential to the progress and liveliness and sustainability of a city. They belong to everybody. Carolina Wren Park for us, number one, it demolished buildings that had become way past their life expectancy. The things that it has brought in terms of vibrancy to our city, the things we've been able to do in that space, it means different things to different people. It hosts everything from eating your lunch in the park because it's a sunny, beautiful day, to music festivals, to food festivals, ice skating, you know, and it's every season. And I think there are more opportunities to really capitalize on as far as that park is concerned.
You're kind of the gal that the buck stops here. Citizens that have come to you, either with complaints or with compliments or with whatever, what one story stands out to you? And you don't have to give me their name, but who came in here and rattled the Venetian blinds?
Oh, I think without a doubt, the hardest, the most emotional kinds of citizen comments came really probably during the early 80s with rezonings. Those were hard. You're talking about people's personal space where they live and how they see things change. And aside from that, the other things that really matter to people, it's the basic services. You know, we say things in this office are important. They're really not that important. The things that people care about, they love police and fire and sanitation. They want their garbage picked up. And you know, that's really, it's not trite at all. It is really, it's at the heart of why cities were created in the first place, was to be able to provide those basic services. And it's still vitally important, just as it was 40 years ago.
Either here or outside, have you ever lost your cool? Have you ever thrown anything?
No, never have.
Have you wanted to throw anybody out?
Maybe, yeah. I might have stomped my foot once or twice, you know.
But because you're a gal, you can't be seen as throwing everybody out that you don't agree with.
Oh, well, I do think certainly the diplomacy, the demeanor, I think matters whether you're in this office or any type of citizen interaction. That has to be at the forefront.
Has a man ever come in here from out of town or somewhere and wanted something, and they look across the desk and they see this little girl, and they say, we ain't gonna have no problem as soon as I can run ship shot over her and I'm gonna get what I want, and they left here with a completely different mindset?
Oh yeah, I think so, yeah. Again, no names.
No.
But I think that I think it helps to be, number one, that's probably one thing that has really helped in being from your hometown. You know the landscape. You know the type of kind of the backbone of what this community is built from. So you know that certain ways that you help people through a process might make all the difference in the world. And you only have one chance to make that first impression, so make sure it's a good one.
You've also worked through, we've had two godfathers here over your time and my time here, and you obviously successfully got across that bridge. But in closing, there is something unique about you and a group of ladies that I want you to talk a little bit about how that has helped not only you but them. Some of you have been friends since kindergarten, which I find just mind-boggling.
It's
Tell me
amazing.
about that group.
We're a group of 10. We all finished high school together, but we've known each other virtually our whole lives. We've had children. We've experienced births, deaths, illness, unbelievable sorrows, unbelievable joys. We like to say that to anybody who will listen, that if you don't have girlfriends, you're missing a support structure that's critically important. These are the people who bring you casseroles and clean your bathrooms when you're sick. They're the people who don't judge you, but they keep your secrets. So we are quite unique. We've lived elsewhere, raised children elsewhere. We've come back to what we call home, and there's nothing like them.
You're now getting ready to enter a brand new chapter in your life. It's got to be a little scary.
Yeah.
What can we expect a year from now, do you think?
Well, I'm not going to just disappear. I believe and have always been active in the community, even outside of my city work. I think that's still important. It's a sense of place, it's a sense of belonging. It's what public service is still about, is doing something that's bigger than you. So I'm sure in the next year I'll still be doing those types of service opportunities. Beyond that, I think being able to spend time with my family is the most important thing. So, but I will be the city's and our employees' biggest champion. I will be the best ambassador because I think they're the greatest in the world.
I get the sense that you can leave, walk out of here and say, look, I'm leaving it in the very best possible case that I can, right?
Oh, yes, yes. I think that we're citywide, we're in the best financial position I believe we've ever been in. The strategic planning that's in place, the capital planning, the capital maintenance, the capital facilities planning and projects that are ongoing, the resurgence in downtown and our economy. I think we're doing things that are very, very sustainable, and I think you have, bar none, there are 271 cities and towns in this state. Anderson, South Carolina has the best employees of anywhere in this state. And we have the right people in the right places to help move us forward, period.
One thing I want you to just mention briefly, all of us worked really hard on the Church Street project. And now it's the showcase of downtown Anderson. The joy that you got from seeing that job complete, tell me about it.
Well, I have to give a nod to Dr. B. Thompson. As I said earlier, she's certainly been the longest serving council member that I've served with, and period. But way back, Church Street was a special place to her, and something that she really wanted to preserve, have its own place in history, and to be remembered in the right kind of way. It took us a long time to get there, but through perseverance and through a lot of starts and stops, and people like Bee and people like Beth Batson and the council that put the financing, and others who put grants together to make this work, that project, it was one of those that it's not a project sometimes, the timing makes all the difference. It made all the difference in this project. And it's something that we will be proud of from now on.
Well, you've certainly made a mark in this city. After your distinguished career, thank you for sharing your story. And for me personally, thank you for all the nice things you've done on my behalf.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure and an awesome journey.
And for you, thank you for tuning in. This has been a delight for me to sit down with my good friend Linda McConnell. And all I can say is stay tuned. We'll see you down the road.